today with Miss Leslie. It took us a little while to get here. We had a little snafus, but we're here and we're hanging out and we're going to have a good time. We're going to talk about her before she started this wonderful little organization that she started and why she started it. So Leslie, thank you so much for joining us today. So let's just start it right out. Leslie, who were you before this whole thing started? So tell us.
Okay, I will. Okay, so I was, if I go back in my history, I was a 9-year-old little girl when my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that was a very, very long time ago, like in the 50s. And when she was diagnosed, she was 41. So she would be considered a young woman with breast cancer. And they didn't screen in those days. And they also didn't give choice. So when you went in, if there was a suspicious lump in your breast, they didn't say, we're going to bring you out and you can choose your treatment. And actually, there was only one treatment in those days. That was the Halsted radical mastectomy. So my mother went into surgery and came out without her breast. She didn't have any knowledge ahead of time that that might happen. But as a 9-year-old, I watched her really suffer with, in those days, a breast cancer when nobody talked about breast cancer. They didn't, unlike today, they didn't even say the word breast out loud.
Right.
And in those days, they thought it was, in quotes, contagious. So she was very, very frightened, and she was told she had 6 months to live. And the reason I want to give this whole background is because she lived to be 90.
Oh, my God.
And that's
90 years old. Oh, my gosh.
She was kind of a miracle. So can I show a picture of us when we were little?
Please?
I want you to see that.
Oh.
So I'm the little one, but I'm the youngest of 3 daughters, and that's my mother just about a year or two before she was diagnosed. And then this is her in her 80s. I want to prove that she lived all the way to be 90, and she did not pass away from breast cancer. So that was sort of my little girl and life experience, that my mom really didn't, she didn't believe that she would live her full life because she was told she wouldn't. But when she did it, she believed it. And so I think there's a lot to be said about that. Like people believe it when they do it. So as I grew up, I became a therapist, which isn't a psychotherapist, which isn't a big surprise because of all that trauma. And but I never wanted to talk about breast cancer. I was afraid, I think, to go there. And then finally, I was asked by a breast center to lead groups. And so I said, well, okay, I'll do it. And then once I started leading groups, I realized I belong in this place. This is something I know so intimately. And so that was the beginning of my sort of professional work with women with breast cancer. And I've been doing that ever since.
Well, Leslie, you kind of hit home at so many different aspects there, because my son was, one of my sons was probably about 9 when I was diagnosed.
Right.
He was 9. And, I was 40, and my grandmother my grandmother had breast cancer when I was 5. She actually helped raise me, and it definitely resonated with me, like, deep. She had one breast removed, but we did not talk about it. Like, grandma had cancer and you did not even speak it. There was no way. You said nothing about it. And I was so scared. I was so scared she was going to die. She didn't die of breast cancer either. She lived, and lived ripe and healthy. She died of natural causes in her old age, but it was very intense for me. Very.
Well, that's part, I think people don't often understand what the legacy is for the kids, the daughters in particular. We worry about it, and you granddaughters, daughters, we worry about it. It sort of sits behind us all the time. Like, when is this going to happen? It's going to happen. How am I going to be? And I think when, like your grandmother, my mother, those are models of people who survive their whole lives and are told basically, good luck. I hope you do it.
Well, I just remember her shoulder always used to hurt because her breast form was so heavy, and I would spend the night at her house, and she would take it off at night, and it was heavy. I just remember how heavy that form was, and she was very scarred, and it just.
That's exactly what happened to my mother. Right.
And when I was diagnosed, I decided that you know, I have 4 boys, and there was no way I wasn't going to talk about it with them, because it was so scary to me to not talk about it, that we needed to we probably talk about breast way too much in this house for it to have 4 boys. They're so non-breast related. My boys, they're desensitized from breast. Like, they're the opposite of the average boy.
But that's wonderful, because that, I mean, I think we've all learned, I mean, and in your family, you're doing it, that when you keep it a secret, because it was kept a secret from me for several years, but I figured it out, because she had the Halsted radical mastectomy, maybe your grandmother had. And so it was very dramatic, you know, all the muscle on the chest wall was gone. And I figured out she didn't have a breast. And even though no one told me officially, because I was the baby, I knew somehow. And it was harder to not be told and not to have conversations about it and to worry about it, you know, without support, because if the child doesn't know, there really is no support for that child. So by talking about it with your boys, you're doing.
And what people always say to me, you know, what's the best advice you can give me about talking to my kids? And the best advice I always say to people is, be honest with them. You know, first of all, we don't even know what's going on. So tell that to them. Like, I always say to my kids, look, if I know, then you know. If I don't know anything, then I can't tell you anything. And half the time that's so true. We don't even know. By the time you go to the doctor's office, you have 5 more questions asked.
Right.
Because you don't even know what the doctor's thinking, because you got to go to 10 more appointments after that. And they were so thankful for that. They were so thankful that, you know, we were honest with them. So.
Well, you couldn't do a better thing, really. I mean, that's the best way to take care of the kids. I mean, that means that they see that they can approach you. And I didn't know that I could approach my mother.
Right.
I had to wait until she finally told me the truth. And that happened, you know, like, as I say, a few years later. And it was only because I think I was in the car with her when she was going to an appointment and she had to tell me. But it made it really tough. So I think you give a gift to your kids by telling them. So after all this work, just to pull you along to the Breast Milagro, I curated a breast cancer art show for many years and had, all people who were impacted by breast cancer partake in this show. And so I had a daughter bring a piece of art, and she wrote a statement, everyone did, about how she was impacted by breast cancer, and it went up with her art. And what her art was a little sculpted figure called Milagro del Cuerpo, which means miracle of the body. And I'm like, well, that's beautiful, but what's a milagro? So she took me to her house and showed me milagros, which are primarily Latin American symbols, where people make a miniature shape of a part of the body where they're worried about their health. And the symbol, they either wear it or keep it in some place special, and it represents the wish for long life or gratitude for healing. So I'm going to show you like a large, this is a large one, but that's a breast milagro, a real authentic breast milagro. So there are all kinds of them. I have more. Can I show you more?
Yes, please.
These are all little symbols. Can you see these?
Yeah.
That's a breast milagro. I'm sorry, I hope I have it on the camera. And that's a breast milagro. Am I doing okay?
You're doing great.
So they're a whole world. I mean, they're milagros of all different body parts. You can see an arm and a leg. And they represent this wish for health and long life. And when I heard about that, I was just, I'm like, well, there are your dogs.
Lulu. Come on.
That's great. I should bring my dogs in here.
Oh my gosh. Hello. Okay. It's too funny.
I should go get mine. But all right. Anyway, so that's very funny. So so when I heard about a breast milagro and that they were real and from all Brazil and Argentina and Mexico, I'm like, what, we should have a contemporary Breast Milagro that's not as graphic as those, but something that women can wear that's really tasteful and beautiful, but has all that emotional content of what a Breast Milagro means.
Yes.
The wish for health and for long life. So that's why I designed. Can you see this? I don't know if this is on.
No, go down a little bit further.
Hold on.
There it is, right there.
Can you see it? Is it flat so that you can see?
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So I designed a contemporary Breast Milagro because, and I I can hold this one up. It's a gold one, but let's see. Where's the camera?
Yep, perfect. So beautiful.
Yeah, they're beautiful and they're really tasteful. I did it, you know, I really wanted something that women would love to wear because it's beautiful, but I wanted to make a Breast Milagro because it has that history. You know, it's such an emotional thing to wear. It means so much to people to wear it.
And the reality is it's an emotional process.
Well, that's right. It's an emotional, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what it is. So the reason that people love this is because one, people come up and say, oh, that's beautiful. Is that an upside down heart? And I wanted it to be ambiguous enough so that if a woman chooses to identify it or not, she has that choice. Because I know in my Mother's Day, she didn't want to, you know, I'll just keep it so you can see. She didn't want to say the word breast out loud, and she didn't want anyone to know she had breast cancer, like your grandmother. Yeah. So I wanted it to be ambiguous, but once you say this is a Breast Milagro, everybody knows. You can recognize it right away. Right. So it's an emotional, it's like a amulet or a spiritual charm that has just that much meaning. And we, over the time, I tried to think of a sentence that really described the emotional piece of this experience. And what I came up with was, or is, beneath the breast beats the heart.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it says what's true, which is there's a whole woman there. And she's not just an illness that needs to be treated or a situation that needs to be cared for. There's a person there. Yeah. It's
so true that it's there. Because I felt, and I know so many other feel, as just a number, and it's not about saving anything more than the woman that's there, and not just the statistic that for the doctor to chalk it up there. I just linked the jewelry through the.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
So that people could see it. My brain's like, oh.
We have dogs in there.
Silly, but that's this is it. We're just girlfriends hanging out together. Dogs are acting crazy.
I feel like getting my dogs, but they'd be too crazy.
All we need is a cup of coffee, and I'd be good to go. What I love about it is that sometimes people want to give somebody a little something to I don't know what the right word is, because it's not commemorate, because that wouldn't be it, but something to say, you know what, I'm stronger than this. And I think this necklace really does it, because everything, all those little stories that you just said are incredible. And wow, to have that on your neck is just beautiful. And it gives you a little reminder about yourself and what you're going through, and the fact that, you can do this. There's a healing process here.
Well, and I've gone to a lot of breast cancer conferences and a lot of different women's events. And when women love this so much, so when you see several women wearing it at once, it feels really powerful.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, Leslie, I do love pink, and I love everything pink. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a huge pink ribbon fan. I think there's so much more. I think I always say, look beyond the pink ribbon, and you'll understand breast cancer a lot better. I think this is it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, actually, people have said that to me. They've said, thank you for not making it pink. And I'm like, oh, no. I mean, it's made, when you make it originally in all the cultures where they're made out of tin or wood or anything that people can access. So we have this made out of silver plate, because that's the real history of the piece.
Right, absolutely. And I think
appreciate that it's not pink.
women want something to symbolize what just happened. They want to wear something. And, you know, like you said, a woman may not want to say, well, I had breast cancer, but some women do. You know, I mean, I have a pink ribbon tattooed on my foot. So I have no problem when people say to me, oh, you have a pink ribbon on your foot, who had breast cancer? And I just look at them and say, well, I did. And then I can give them a story. I want that. I would love for someone to say to me, tell me about that necklace, so that it opens that door. It really does. And for those who don't want to wear that pink ribbon, which I respect, that's the solution. That necklace is the solution.
Well, thank you. I agree. You know, when I've been in department stores and I always wear it, right? So, and I've been in department stores and people, if I go get cosmetics or something, the gals behind the counter will say, that's so pretty. That's an upside down heart. But I say exactly what you just said. No, this is a Breast Milagro and this is why I wear it. So I explain that it's my mother's history. It's my level of risk. It's everybody's, you know, we're in this together. It just opens the door. And people think it's so pretty that I could to talk about it all the time.
Exactly. That's what my head started thinking of that, because I'm always looking for ways to open a conversation up and make it a little bit more about, you know, what's behind all of that. And that piece really does it because of what it stands for.
Right. Well, that's why for us, beneath the breast beats the heart. When I finally found that sentence in me, I thought that talks about the heart, your heart, my heart, my mother, your grandmother, the heart of the person who's really there. I mean, that's the experience, the heart journey of whether, you know, to live one's life and to live one's life either diagnosed or not, or waiting to be diagnosed, or having someone you love being diagnosed. It is a heart journey. So that's why.
And the funny thing is that, I mean, that goes into the metastatic community as well, because it's not about the breast, it's about that heart that's beating. I mean, really.
Yes, and I've just been to the Young Survivor Coalition conference this year, and I had three or four women, maybe it was three, standing in front of me and saying, it was so interesting and so poignant, saying, thank you for not making something pink, because we don't necessarily want to tell the world that we're struggling with this.
Yeah.
But we want to have a symbol of our fight, our struggle.
And that's what I just think is fantastic. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't scream it, but it says it enough that I think it's empowering. I really believe that. And you know, it's not expensive. It's, you know, which I think is another thing. And you know, I think that part of the reason why I love doing these hangouts is because of what we just did. We just explained, you know, the reality in a way that I think so many people can respect, because we can sit here and you and I together, me having breast cancer, you with your mom who had breast cancer, you as a therapist, you can sit here and say, you know, you can tell me statistics, I can throw them back at you. You can tell me clinically how many women are depressed from breast cancer, but it's different when we talk about women as a woman. You know do you know what I'm saying by this? You know, this isn't about the numbers. It's about us women and what we want and how we want to change things. And it may seem like a necklace can't do that, but I think it can. I think a necklace can do that.
Well, I mean, the reason the Breast Milagro to me is so powerful is because historically it is exactly that. It's a sign of the wish, which everybody has, right? Give me my long life. And it's a sign of the connection. And it is powerful because it's I don't know. I think it's just, I love it. I love the history. I love the culture. I love the message. I love the personal quality of it. I can identify it or not, you know.
Yeah, it's all those things. It's exactly what it is. Whereas a pink ribbon, anything pink, it screams it. I mean, I could have a pink t-shirt on and everyone's like, oh, you're wearing pink today because you had breast cancer. I'm like, I'm wearing pink because I freaking like pink. Would you leave me alone?
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So this gives people choice. And I think, I'm sure that happens all the time. Like if you want to wear, I'm sure you can't.
All the time. And like I just said, I love pink. Like I absolutely love it. But I actually had my toenails painted pink last week. And someone said, oh, is your toes painted pink because you had breast cancer? I'm like, oh my God, pink does not equal breast cancer. It just doesn't. It's not. Trust me. So,
well let's. Yeah. Oh, anyway, so that's the story.
Well, we are so glad to have you on CureDiva. I'm so glad to bring a little bit of jewelry onto the page. Not that it's not going to cure anything. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's going to. It's not a necessity. We don't need it. But you know what? It makes us feel a little bit better. And that's how I feel about it. And I really, truly believe that. You know, I've had women actually say to me, I didn't wear a wig. I didn't wear a scarf. I wore jewelry. That's what made me feel better during treatment. And that's why I want to bring it on. So I think this piece really is going to do that for a lot of women. And I cannot thank you enough for having the patience with me, with the dog, with the hangout, with everything else. And I look so forward to working with you.
Well, thank you. And you had great patience with me with the hangout, because I was like, oh my God, how am I doing this?
No. This was a blast. And I thank you so much.
All right. Thank you too. And go pet those dogs for me. I'm going to go get mine out of the bathroom where they're waiting.